Hey, long time, no podcast. Sorry, I think the last one was maybe February or so, and I just didn't have anything to show. I'd already shown you all of the good stuff, so I had to knit for a while to come up with more things to show you guys. First off, if you see a flash of really bad neon purple, my daughter and I had a spa day over the weekend, and I let her pick all the colors. They're not my colors. I'm not even a nail polish person, so it's very out of the comfort zone, but it gave her little 6-year-old heart joy, so we went ahead and did it. So I'm titling this podcast Missteps But No Mayhem, because it has been a season of missteps. And the first one I wanted to talk about is this one. So the design in and of itself is great. I had this concept way back when I was working on Forest of Arda that these right here could be antlers and I could make this into a reindeer, and it took a while to get it just right. And I finally did get it exactly how I wanted. And my tech editor is actually working on it now. So as far as the design goes, it's great. Where the misstep went is, you see this little guy right here? I had this whole plan. This was going to be the Rudolph Cowl. Slight problem that just had an epiphany. I wasn't even expecting to have this epiphany, but I was like, wait a minute, literally like a few days ago. Rudolph is a character, like Mickey Mouse or Elsa and Anna, you know? And characters are not really something you can do commercially. So I talked to my tech editor. She sent me a great resource. It turns out Rudolph is trademarked, and not just his name. You cannot use, so the image of a quote unquote whimsical reindeer with a red nose, like so, is trademarked. So it can't be used for commercial purposes. So if you wanted to make a cowl with a reindeer with a red nose, you could absolutely do that for your own personal use. But I, to my woe, cannot market it commercially. So now I have to, I guess I'll just retake the pictures and turn the cowl around for all the little, but I've got to come up with a new title. And I asked on Instagram, and the #1 title that everyone thinks I should name it is Reindeer Games. The problem is there's a million different reindeer games patterns out there. So I don't think I'm going to do that one, even though it is super duper cute. So we'll see. This is knit in Rerum, Natura, Ulysse. I don't speak French, so I just do my best, and I'm probably butchering it, and I apologize profusely. I actually, this was my first time trying this out, but I knew it was going to be a lot like Gilliatt, so I kind of knew what to expect, but I really wanted to try it just to see what it was like in hand. So I ordered a ton of it from the La Mercerie here in the States, and they were great. But if you see, so these are all little baubles. I always forget to look, the camera's over here, not here where the, but these are just little bauble noses. And then you can actually do this part with mosaic knitting instead, like basically 2-pass stranded color work instead of having to do every other, and it's pretty fast. Just little baubles, but I'm really excited about it. My tech editor's got that one now, and I'm hoping to test it out the month of October and then get it released in time for everyone to knit up their own little reindeer cowl for Christmas. And it's nice because you can eliminate this part here, and it'll be a much more short cowl, which is really great for little kids because, you know, this would just dwarf them. I'm actually thinking I'm going to turn this one into a pillow. I'm not really a cowl person, and I think it'd be a nice, you know, Christmas accessory. So we'll see how that goes. The other thing I'm working on, and have been working on a while, is the Forest of Arda cardigan. I'm not going to try it on yet because I don't want to get everybody excited, and it's not able to be tested just yet. I had to slide Rudolph in, well, not Rudolph, in front of it, but I'm really excited. I got these really cool buttons, and I'll show you a little bit more about this later, but I wanted to show you just kind of a glimpse of it to preface my other misstep, which was my gauge catastrophe. So I'm working on a pullover version of this right now. The pattern's going to feature both the cardigan and a pullover. So this is the same, it's a little bit bright in here, but this is the same yarn that this one is. And for some reason, I just got it in my head that I had to knit it with size 6 needles and I had to have a really tight gauge. And I don't know if I was just really stressed but I wound up with it just being tiny. So the first time I knit it, I sized down and I realized, you know, that was a bad idea. I actually don't want it that tight. So I redid it. And then the second time I did it, I realized that my gauge was just way too tight and wasn't going to work. So this is attempt number 3, which is really sad because it was pretty much complete and ready to go. But the gauge is right. And I'm working on one of my sleeves, starting off the little bracer. But this is supposed to be, just grabbing my yarn balls to throw them over here. This one is supposed to kind of be, you know, Gondor with the white tree, as opposed to Mirkwood. But right now, Rerum Natura has been sold out of the Forêt color. So I'm really hoping by the time I get this in testing that it will be back in stock. They did actually offer me some yarn support in the way of a discount on this one. And I will have a discount for testers also of this one. Just got to get Rudolph, not Rudolph, through tech editing first, and then we can move on to this one. I am dying for sweater weather so I can finally wear it, even though I really probably shouldn't wear it until after it's been released. But you know, I cheat every now and then. Cheating is good, right? So the other thing I've been working on is the Diana sweater. So Diana is in testing right now. And actually, if you're a very, very fast knitter, you could probably still join in. This is knit in Knitting for Olive, Merino, and Soft Silk Mohair held double. Well, it's held double on this part, and this is just the Mohair here, and here, and here, and this is just the Merino. But it's kind of a nice combination. The testing concludes, I think, November 22nd. So if you did want to join in the test, we do still have some room for that testing call. If you like Edwardian inspired, Anne of Green Gables inspired knits, I think it's going to be a really fun one. And you can also leave off the ruffles and the high neck and just knit this part. Several test knitters are doing that. So Knitting for Olive, to my surprise, actually, when I reached out, did give me a discount for me and my test knitters. It's already expired for test knitters at this point, and we used up, it was like 6 codes. But they did give me a little bit of a discount. Before I'd reached out to them, though, I'd started this Diana sweater for my daughter, and I'm using it now to film tutorials. But I don't know that I actually like it anyway. It just feels weird because I'm supposed to be using my recommended yarn, which I do like, the Knitting for Olive yarn. But this was knit in Drops Kid Silk and then Drops Daisy. And to be honest, it's a little thick in here and I didn't do well matching the colors. I don't know if it's even going to be picked up, but this one is like a warm, almost like skin tone. And this is like a bubblegum pink, and they just kind of clash. So at this point, I'm just filming tutorials, and another misstep on my part was really not comparing. It's nice because Knitting for Olive has a ton of swatches comparing all of the different colorways together, so you really know what you're getting. And this one I was going with computer screens and little squares, and it didn't work very well. The yarn itself seems to be a decent quality. But again, I'm going to finish that up for my daughter. She probably asks me 3 times a week if I'm done with her sweater yet. And it's been on the back burner quite a bit lately. I do have a couple finished objects beyond like this one and the Forest of Arda cardigan. The first one, I just re-released the 2.0 version of the Vine Pullover, which was one of the very first designs I ever did back when I was knitting to sell. And I wanted kind of a tight neck and, you know, sleeves that showed off. It's got this cable pattern. I'll try to remember to put a picture of it here so you can see what it looks like on. I can actually fit into this. It's a size 10 because this is knit in Malabrigo Rios, and it's very, very stretchy. I wouldn't say you could do negative ease with all yarns, but this is a good yarn for negative ease. But when I redid the pattern, I added some sizes and I regraded it to just have a more uniform fit. I've grown a lot as a designer since I'd first designed it, and I wanted to make sure that this one was done right. So I went ahead and regraded it, and it was just re-released. So yeah, my son is obsessed with this. I pretty much have to pry it off of him. So this is actually getting ready to go into the wash. I already had to shave it. Like, he wore it for almost 3 weeks straight, except for when I washed it, and the pilling was terrible. Which, I mean, this is Malabrigo Rios too, and I've had it for, I don't know, coming up on 2 years now, and it's barely pilled. But you take a little boy that's rough and tumble and is doing flips on your sofa all day, and apparently it doesn't do as well. But I mean, it's been shaved and it looks fine now. It looks good as new. So I guess if that's the price of using that yarn, then I'll take it. But that's one of my finished objects. Excuse me. I'm flying through this. Clearly I am not really a podcast person. I don't know how you guys sit for an hour and talk about it, because I think I get nervous because I'm not used to talking to my own phone over here. And so I can't think of what to say. And then I just like, oh, next thing. And then I wind up being done in 15 minutes. So maybe I need to slow down, figure out some of the tricks of the trade. So this is just a little sweater. I did not design this. This is the Harvest Cardigan by Tin Can Knits. And what I've done is I've put a little I-cord edging along the side of it, and along the bottom did an I-cord bind off. It's not blocked yet. This is like hot off the needles. And what I like to do is I turn it into the Ulysse cardigan, which I used to sell in my shop. And you create an I-cord loop and you sew it down with a button. It makes a nice adjustable little sweater. This one's going to be a gift. I had some leftover of the Knitting for Olive Merino for this one, and I just held it double. And it's turned out really nice. I really like that yarn. It's not as fun to knit with as some of the other ones because it's not very stretchy, but it's a sturdy yarn. It doesn't fall apart, doesn't pill, which is really nice. Okay. So in the way of plans, I have this swatch here, which is a very boring swatch. There's no cables, there's no anything. It's just, so this is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in Slate Green. And my plan is to make a men's Vine Pullover. I actually already graded it and everything. And one of my very reliable test knitters, Sarah, actually has already knit a sample. I went ahead and let her have a sneak peek at the pattern because her son had outgrown the kid sizing, and I wanted to make sure he had a sweater this winter. And I saw her photo and just absolutely, it looked so good. So now I'm just itching to cast it on for my husband. It's a great green. It softened up a lot when it was blocked. I have to say though, when I got this and took it out of the package, I don't know if the package off-gassed in it or if this is what sheepy smell is, but it doesn't smell good. It doesn't smell good at all. And when I blocked it, it turned the water like black. And I don't know if that was dye or dirt, but it is softer after it's blocked. I don't have any complaints about the quality of the yarn. It just smells. So I bought this myself with no discount. I didn't ask for yarn support on it, although I guess I could have, but I really like the freedom of being able to knit samples in whatever I want and to recommend whatever I want. And sometimes, like the Diana sweater, it's really helpful to have a specific yarn. This pattern really shines in that exact yarn, and deviating from it can kind of, you don't know what's going to happen. But for like the Vine Pullover, there's so many different yarns that you could use. I've used Plymouth, it's like Plymouth's worsted, Plymouth yarn merino worsted, I think is what it's called. And it's great. I've used Cascade 220 merino. I've used Malabrigo Rios. And then this will be my latest yarn change using the Knitting for Olive heavy merino. And I'm hoping that this is a nice, soft but sturdy yarn that I can use that isn't gonna, you know, I didn't want my husband to, this is just too stretchy for an adult sweater. The weight of it, I feel like, unless you've got some negative ease like this one does to really hold it together, it just droops. So I'm hoping this one will have enough structure and not so much stretch so that it will make for a good men's sweater. And then I may do for my own when I get around to the women's, because of course I'm thinking ahead with all the matchy-matchy. When I get to the women's, what I would like to do is make myself one in negative ease with this, maybe even short sleeve, and then make one positive ease with something like this. But we'll see what I do. I'm gonna pause real quick and get a drink of water because, whew. Okay, so my other plan for knitting soon, I bought these at the same time I bought the Forest of Arda pullover yarn. It's Rerum Natura Gilliatt. I don't remember so this, I guess I should have said, is Baleine, I don't know. I took German, not French in school. Let's just go with Baleine Bleue, Blau, and Poivre et Cell, which is, I don't know. I should know these things. I'm mostly just trying not to butcher the pronunciation. So that was this. And then this one was Forêt and Poivre. And my daughter wanted one to match. Well, Poivre and Forêt were sold out when I needed to order. So I was like, okay, you're gonna have to come up with another color. And she came up with, I want to say it's Rose. So I'm gonna have to look up what it's called. And this one, you know what? I don't think this is Poivre et Cell. I think this is Poivre Blanc right here. And this may just be Blanc or Cell. I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to look and see. But it's not quite a foresty color, so I was kind of like, But what it reminds me of is, so growing up, we had crepe myrtle trees in our backyard, and they are almost exactly this color when they're in bloom. And so I like to think of like the Shire in summer. Maybe they had some blossoming trees like this. So this is going to be the kids pattern, which is going to be a little tricky because the motif is 9 inches long. So I think that it's probably going to have to start around 2T to be able to work. I don't think we'll be able to do like baby sizes with this one. But I'm going to film tutorials. That's why I do so many of the kids ones. I film tutorials with the children's pattern. That way I'm not having to fast forward around like a whole arm for an adult one, because it gets kind of weird doing that. So the last thing that I wanted to show you is a design that I designed actually for a magazine at first. So Lina magazine came out with a testing call for 52 weeks of scrap yarn. And so I slaved over this. I was so excited about it. Came out with, this is all Malabrigo Rios, but I was planning on using a sport weight yarn. These are just double stitched afterwards. And this isn't even the final swatch. But anyway, long story short, they didn't want it. It was kind of a bummer, but also it was kind of nice to have the creative process back in my hands again. So it's languished a little bit, and I have big plans. So I'm going to rewrite this, because originally I was planning for a pillow and it was knit from the bottom up. Now I'm going to do it from the top down. So I've got to rewrite some of this, and I think it'll help with some bunching that I was having in here. But I'm going to start with the standard cowl pillow, and then eventually I'd like to have a little cardigan. And it took me a while to figure out what yarn to use with it, because I was being picky. I wanted a certain shade for the stem, and I wanted a certain shade for the tulips, and I wanted a certain shade for the background. I just could not find a yarn that had all of those things. I found some great yarns with some of the shades, but not all of them. And I really wanted one that had all of them. So I stumbled upon John Arbon's John Arbon Textiles Knit by Numbers, and they're 4-ply, and I ordered all of their shade cards so I could look, and I am itching to order this yarn. I'm not gonna do yarn support or anything on this pattern because I don't even know if I'm gonna get the cardigan finished until next spring, because it's fingering weight. But I wanted to make sure I'd be able to wear it, because here it is almost October and I still can't wear any of my knits right now. I mean, I can wear this, but not any of the long sleeve wool, because it's like 85 degrees outside, which feels a little warm for this area. But so anyway, I wanted to do fingering weight yarn, 4-ply, whatever you want to call it. And this particular brand has a million, like, I don't know if you can see that, just a million different shades. And my daughter's already said, well, I want the bright pink and the bright green and the bright blue. And then I have my own ideas. So I'm going to kind of do like olive green for the stems, and this one for the sky. I was literally holding it against my skin color, trying to figure out which one would look best. So this, and I think I may even do a fade up some of the tulips, and then have a darker one be the outer edge. But it's just so fun, like trying to figure out which ones you're gonna do. And they also have mini skeins, which is nice because I won't have to order a full skein for each color I want to use, which will save some money. So yeah, these are all of the colors. They're like a million colors. So, I mean, that's not an ad. Like, I ordered this from them. I don't know if the yarn's gonna be good. It might be itchy, it might be terrible, but we'll see. And I'm hopeful that, I mean, this feels soft. This feels like a good yarn. So I'm hopeful that it's going to meet expectations. So I'm probably gonna order that in the next month or so, but I'm trying to wait until I finish my Forest of Arda pullover before I start any more cast-ons, which is really hard because I want to cast on that men's vine, and I've got another idea that's kind of, it's Three Musketeers themed, but I don't want to call it like the Aramis cowl or something like that. That seems kind of funny. So I'm trying to find a kind of tongue-in-cheek way that people could really recognize, hey, that's from the Three Musketeers, but also not be like, okay, that was a little bit in your face about it. So we'll see. Those are my knitting plans. This is what I've been up to. I can't promise it won't be another, 6 months before you hear from me again, but I will try to update a little bit sooner. Maybe a quarterly podcast would be best for me instead of I don't think I can manage monthly. I don't think it's my personality, but hopefully, maybe I can find a kind of a habit to be consistent with it. So we'll see. So it's been fun chatting, and I hope you haven't been too bored, and I hope I haven't talked too fast. So until next time, bye.